just purely visual, and then to kind of move towards having language around what people are visually exploring.
You know what might be a feather in your cap is if you could get in with one of the big art associations who probably are all having kittens right now and see if they can come up with some idea of how art could be explained without having to say in the style of, Rembrandt or Monet or Lisa Frank or whatever, and let them spend their brain power on it. Because that's probably, I mean, academics, they love that kind of thing. So, could really
Yeah.
make that.
What it looks to us like right now is that like if you go with this thing, there's something called the elements of art, I guess, which people use in art school, where it's like 8 or 12 dimensions of an image. And so you can break an image down into like 8 or 12 things and kind of say like it has heavy lines and strong color and with a sharp lighting, and like you can kind of break it into sort of constituent components. But I guess the worry is that you end up with a dozen things that you end up saying, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, maybe that's how you break it down, but it's not like a name anymore. Like expressionism, it's you know, it becomes a
Yeah.
sort of like long descriptive thing of 12 components. You know, um, I mean, that would still be something like that's still maybe that's still better than nothing. You know?
Just being able to go into and explore and come up with those components. What does it mean to be, you know, Dadaism or Impressionism? And maybe it does spit you out those 12, descriptions like you just said. And then it's up to the person. Okay, they can stick all 12 of them in and see what happens, and then re-roll it if they don't like it, take out the strong lines or take out the this or that. And then they've actually learned something and they're doing their own thing. They're not just copying one of the great masters or one of the living people who's having shit fits because people are using their style.
Yeah, yeah. I think that definitely is. That's an area that we're looking at a lot. I Yeah, I think that no matter what, like whether people decide that names are like the sort of the key bad thing or not, like having visual like purely visual ways of exploring style is important, you know? Um and like we need to do that and sort of move towards these other interfaces. Um I know right now people are really upset by names, and I'm having a hard time telling if that's like the real thing that people end up being upset about, or if it's just sort of like what people are upset about this week, you know?
Yeah. Well, for the people I've talked to who are the most upset, it's the using of other artists' names. And that was what kept me going back to, okay, so maybe having that different 12 item description of a style makes a certain amount of sense. So
Yeah, you might
I
be
will
right.
leave that here. I know you have a lot of people.
This is definitely like I would say this is the number one theory right now that everybody is saying, that it does come down to the names, and that we need to figure out ways of just kind of giving people ways of doing things without names.
Yep.
So I think you're basically saying the number one theory right now that everybody has. So I can't say whether I feel like I'm agnostic, and that like I can't tell if that really like I understand why people feel that way, and I understand how to get around it, and I think we're going to build interfaces that don't require using names. But I can't tell if maybe people are angry about something else in 30 days, you know?
Well, they are angry about, the other thing she brought up was that, people who used to pay artists to do like comp work will be using Midjourney to come up with their own ideas and not hiring. There's nothing you can do about that. My answer to that is, life is an evolve or die kind of situation. So either those artists get better at doing comps in Midjourney or something. Um,
I
but
think that
the name thing you can totally get around.
I don't like the idea that like we shouldn't teach people to write because then they won't need writers, you know? I think that the more people who can read and write, the more readers and writers that we have that make their living that way.
Well, I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I think
So
anytime someone says like if you making a picture impinges on my ability like impinges on my like you basically saying that like no one else should be able to make images or something. Like it feels it's like a hard side of history to play on, you know? Like yeah, it's kind of, I feel like in some ways it's more of like the mass proliferation of reading and writing, and that was like unambiguously good for writing as a medium and for writing as a professional career. Um, I do, yeah, there is. I think there's an argument that reading and writing was bad in some ways, but nobody's making that argument. Like that's like I think if someone's going to make an interesting argument, it's that like reading and writing was bad and we should still have an oral culture, you know. Like that's an interesting argument. But this idea like we shouldn't teach people to read and write because then we won't have as many, like then we won't need priests anymore to read the Bible, and we won't have writers anymore to like, you know, write new stories. That's obviously, I think that's proven to be wrong in the course of history, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, a lot of this is like this stuff happened. Like, this stuff happens every 10 years, right? Like, kit bashing was really controversial in 2008, right? Like, where you could take different photos and mash them together in Photoshop and make stuff. And like, everyone was like, that's not real art. You're not making your stuff, right? And this is more, I think there's like, this making up images more than kit bashing is. And people like digital art was also like, people were like, digital art's not real. You can't just like click undo, like there's no crafts to it. And when people invented photography, they were like, you know, the only thing you can do that's artistic with a photo is take a picture of something and then paint it later, you know? So I feel like we've had, there's a long history of anytime there's something new in the art world for like a large of people to like hate it. I feel like we still want to do our best to not make people upset, but I also don't think that I think that this isn't about, again, I'm going to say it again, like, I don't really think it's about art. It's about imagination. And do we want to give people these vehicles of imagination? And like, do we want the world to be more imaginative? And like, not every sound is music, and not every image is art, and not every person who makes art is trying to be an artist, you know? Like, not everyone trying to make, like, yeah, like, just because someone's trying to make a picture of a dog that, like, their dog that just died, like, that, you know, like, who, like, they're not trying to be an artist, and they're not going to hire an artist to make a picture of their dead dog right then, you know? Like, there's certain, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a bit of drama going on right now, and I think there's multiple levels to it, right? Like, one is probably like that AI photo filter app, like, got really popular this week, and I think it got a lot of people angry this week. It had nothing to do with us. I think that there's a person who made a really angry video that uses a lot of like angry language, and then sometimes people will just use that language. But like, it's also starting to fade now because like YouTube videos only last like 2 weeks, and like, you know, like there's like a bubbling weird environment of like anger and happiness and drama, and it's really hard to tell. Like, it's hard to separate it all out. I guess that's what
Well, the thing is, the name thing is not going to change. The other stuff may come and go, and it may be seasonal, it may be fluffy, it may be a sine wave of anger and happiness, but the name thing is not going to go away. So I will leave you with that thought. I know lots of other people have questions, so I will get out of your ear.
Yeah.
And I hope you get something out of that. And seriously, if there are any professors out there listening and these like 900 people, you know, maybe your art students need a project or something and you could help David out.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
One thing I looked at interestingly recently was like, I actually looked at like what percentage of our prompts have artist names in them, and it's actually a very small percentage. Like almost like 90% of people like never use an artist name. They just type dog or cyberpunk or something like, you know, like clouds or Maltese, or like they're no, almost people actually not using artist names. Like, artist names are a very small percentage of what's being typed in the Midjourney, interestingly. Yeah. But I do see how it's upsetting people. So it's like, yeah, I agree with you. And thank you for stressing it. Hello.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on video game people using Midjourney stuff instead of having to go through and like Google images randomly. Like, how much are you seeing people exploring that in the video game world?
I know people are using it in the video game world to are you I know people in the video game world are using it for like concept art. Like to try to figure
Yeah,
out like maybe mood boards and things like that. I know that the video game people like it using it more than Google image search because they feel like Google image search is more likely to like they're more likely to copy something by mistake. Like
yeah,
somehow
that's what I was
I feel like
curious
it's
about.
safer than Google image search.
It's been really interesting to watch. I think that Midjourney is my favorite product in general. I really appreciate everything you guys have done with this. And I was wondering, would we ever see the video come back? I think it was on V2 that we could do video generation for images.
We should do it. It's just like lower on the list, but it's something that we can. It's more expensive and slower right now to do it. So, but like if people ask for it, like we can do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. And I was wondering, how much does the ranking matter? Like, I tend to do quite a bit of rating, and I see that you guys put like extra hours on accounts that are in the top 1,000. I was wondering, how much does that affect the program?
The main thing the number one thing that the strongest effect that it does is it powers the like front page, you know, where you can see like what are the hot and top images of the day, you know, and those do strongly affect like the image that other people are making. Like if something hits the top of the little front page of the community thing, like you get a lot more images like that. Uh, we sometimes use it for the algorithms too, but we don't use it. It's not in the algorithms kind of constantly changing things. It's not stable right now if we just like let it do that. So, but sometimes we'll take the data and we'll try to put it in and it'll improve our stuff.
It feels like the program gets better every day. Are you not upgrading? Does like the continuous usage not increase the quality every day?
No, it does not. We would like it to, but right now when we do that, it like converges on like making like pretty white girls in every image. Like it kind of has these like bad, it has like these kind of bad failure modes where it basically converges on like the one thing that everybody likes the most. So we need to basically have a system that we need to kind of create the feedback loop so that it kind of balances itself better, you know? And we're still working on that,
Gotcha.
but we haven't solved it yet.
Gotcha. And you've spoken before on how difficult video is. What are the major barriers to being able to go from still images to video?
AI isn't very good at like episodic memory or like long term anything. So yeah, and then I think the expectations are hard too. People will say like I want a movie cats and they expect it to give them like a cat movie, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of subtleties about like the way that stuff moves in images that is also hard. Like you want things to kind of move in 3D, right? You don't want them to like you want someone to walk and it doesn't like you want them to like walk along the floor, not slide diagonally. But like basically, there's a lot of little subtle things. Basically, there's more subtle stuff to go wrong in a video than an image.
Gotcha. That's everything for me. I really appreciate everything you guys do.
Sure. Thank you. We are definitely trying to. I think we're going to definitely try to do some stabs, some movement stuff, but we'll probably constrain it so it's like very simple, so that it's likely to kind of always be nice, rather than trying to make something that like look really uncanny half the time. You know.
I mean, I'm obsessed with Midjourney. I think that you guys are the best product like available right now.
Thank you. Well, we're gonna try our best. We're gonna keep doing some crazy stuff. I feel very optimistic.
I mean, I use almost every day if I can. I'm obsessed. I think that everything you guys do is just fantastic, and your rate of iteration blows me away. I don't know how to describe how quickly you guys move to people who don't use these programs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Like I used to have an AI company. We do one version a year, and right now we're doing like a version every 2 or 3 months. And I think we're gonna get down to a version every month at some point. So I think and then we might even be able to get to something that's like kind of continuously changing, as you were saying. So I'm very hopeful. What's that?
You said new versions every month. Like, I mean, obviously you guys get. I think I started in like June or something, and like V2, and I mean the difference in quality is, I mean, it's difficult to state, but like, how much better can this get then? Like, is it just on raw beauty of it? Like, are you studying like, or like, are you just getting more and more data that provides a more aesthetically pleasing thing just in general? Or yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can probably get like 100x better.
Wow.
I don't know if you can get 1,000 times better easily, but I think like look, making it like 100x better in the next 12 months, I think is a coherent goal. Whereas like making it maybe 1,000 times, maybe it can be 1,000 times better ever. That might be the max, but like 100, and then like we could probably do 100 in 12 months, and then I don't know what the 1,000 does. Is like another few years, but
12 months.
We'll see. Don't, I'm optimistic. There's a lot of things. Yeah, well, there's a lot of metrics, right? So things will get faster, things will get more diverse, then there'll be more details. The details will be more right. It's going to have more knowledge. It's going to have a better ability to personalize and do weird new things that are like novel that no one's seen before, like go off the human manifold, the human landscape.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of areas that individually would feel like a lot better, and then together they feel doubly better. And so like
a possibility for like a bot like that would just generate images that are trying to like reach the top of like of the hot page, or the like the top of the rating or something, so that you have like, we talked about objective beauty before. Like, is that in the realm of possibility of just having like a Midjourney specific bot that says, these are the things that are doing really well, let's make or try and make the most beautiful version of it or something, and see how it does, see how it interprets beauty?
Yes, I think we're going to try to do some stuff like that at some point. And I think our goal ideally is that like humans are enough to kind of create the diversity and push the boundaries. But if it turns out that we want something to help increase the amount of diversity and boundary pushing, then getting some machines to do it too could also help, So we haven't yet seen what happens when we like encourage people to make weird images. So at some point we're going to add like more of a leaderboard where it's like the weirdest stuff made today. And then like that might actually help a lot in a weird way. Like anytime you give a reward off of something.
I found that emojis were incredible for trying to go into like a really weird space, just like calling out like what is the most absurd thing you can think of Midjourney. And emojis were phenomenal for that, for me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to make it weird. And I really want to see people push the boundaries more as like for doing that. I don't think. Oh, I think that like I think there's a lot more like, I mean, I've even done some things where I ask it to like look for styles that people haven't tried before. And there's a lot more stuff in there than anybody's really discovering still.
Do you have like a map of like existing like iconography or something?
I mean, I can just like, I can just tell it to like try doing 30,000 different words, and I can just look at them and look for ones that are weird. Like I can do lots of things that are not in the normal product right now. But like there's a lot of, it's a lot more expressive than people are. I think there's a lot of things that people are finding that we wouldn't find. There's a lot of things that we could find that people wouldn't find. So it's kind of going, we definitely, even just like fully getting the range out of these systems is a challenge, from a human standpoint.
Gotcha. Have you considered doing any like podcasts? Like I'd love to see like a Lex Friedman interview with you or something.
Yeah, it could happen at some point. There's a podcast with there's sort of I do a few a month. So the last podcasts I did were with Ben Thompson, and he's like he's like I think he's like I think he's like the number one Substack. And then Joshua Topolsky was another one I did. He's the guy who like founded The Verge. And those are both
Holding them up right now.
those are both nice. Those were nice. Those are both nice talks. They were kind of different. Like Ben Thompson is more of like he talks about business and strategy, you know, and then like Joshua Topolsky is more about like art and technology, you know. And so yeah. I've met Lex before. It could happen.
Really?
Yeah, we've talked. Yeah, well, a lot of people overlap out here. The cool thing about the tech industry isn't that big, so everyone kind of meets and talks. But yeah,
That's really fantastic. Thank you.
yeah. I actually, I think I gave a Lex was at a small event. It was like Lex was at like a small, like, I don't know, maybe 15-person event. When was it? It was right around the start of the Ukraine war, I guess. So like 8 or 9 months ago. Yeah. And so no, I think he was seeing, I was showing him some Midjourney stuff while it was like while it was like not even announced yet. He's one of the earlier closed door. Like we were doing like lightning talks, basically. It was like me and it was like 10 friends, and we were all doing lightning talks. I think he might have done a little talk too, actually. Yeah, so like we all like, yeah, there's a lot of weird overlap actually out here. It's fun.
That's fantastic. I can't wait for the possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm really appreciative.
No problem.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm being shy guy person today.
All
right. Before I'll be asking you a question, I want to say to people who experience some difficulties with bots, please check status, and that's all. I mean, those knows and they are working on their issues, so be patient. Okay, David, so Barry asking, who is your favorite Disney villain?
Disney villain?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Ursula in The Little Mermaid was pretty cool because she was like this octopus witch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know. If I had to pick one off the top of my head, I'd pick Ursula. I don't know why.
Wow, nice.
I'm trying to. I feel like there's gotta be. No, I like Ursula. Yeah. And I realize I feel like there's lots of Disney movies I like. Like I like Mulan a lot, but like there wasn't the villain in Mulan wasn't that cool, but Mulan was really cool, you know. And like the little dragon, yeah. But in terms of I think Ursula. That's like
Okay.
number one off the top of my head right now. So, yeah, that's my answer. I'm going with that.
I'll take it.
Wait,
Okay.
was it also was the Emperor's New Groove? That was a Disney, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isma.
I liked Isma. Yeah, she was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, yeah. So those are okay. I picked two then. Yeah. And then what's this? Then the guard guy who's always with the queen. What's his name?
Grunk, I think.
Grug. Yeah, Grug. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Grunk. Yes.
Yeah. So there we go. So the Emperor's New Groove and Little Mermaid ones. Those are my two favorite with the villains. Yeah. There we go. They're kind of similar in a weird way, aren't they? I don't know. Yeah, like one was the guy, the princess turned into a llama, the mermaid was turned into a human.
Yeah.
There's sort of like a weird similarity.
Someone saying they both purple. Yay! Okay, so next question from Paul. She asking, what kind of leader are you for your team? And how do you think your teammates would describe you?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, there are definitely some things that I'm good at, and there's definitely some things that I'm bad at. Like I'm probably good at hey, we're all gonna work on cool stuff and we're gonna go big and stuff like that. But I'm not necessarily good right now. Like we don't have a lot of management, so it's like me managing like 20 people. And so like I don't actually get to talk to everybody all the time enough, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't been a very good leader in terms of like talking to everybody every day, but I am probably good at like, let's do big things, let's do crazy stuff, let's do cool things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably like my strength and my weakness is yeah. And so yeah, the biggest strength is that let's do crazy stuff and like let's go move fast and like let's have infrastructure and like support everyone and have a cool environment. And my worst thing is I can't talk. There's too many people and I can never talk to everybody, and it's always like a tragedy.
Okay. Oh, I did something wrong. Okay, so next question will be from Limited, and she asking, are you doing any work to train models around disabilities? For instance, representing empathies or other disability, also including specific assistant device within prompts?
So is it about making it better for user interfaces?
Yeah.
You mean like better for
For
knowledge?
I think it's a question for people who can type or disable in any way. I think that.
We're not currently working on any of that, but it does make sense to have some like, you know, voice stuff at some point, like with the OpenAI whisper thing. That'd be cool. But it's definitely right now we're like having a hard time just having the website work with search.
I know. That was really great because yeah, I know there is some people who would really like to use a Midjourney, but they can't because yeah, disability. Okay, patience. Brandon MC asking how you choose artists that will be influence the image, like Van Gogh or more Blacker, because he found some artists that have a prolific portfolio on Google search and doesn't be see them in dataset or have some influence. Will be this expanding, like the database of artists.
We're definitely not specifically trying to increase database of artists. We are increasing the database size in general, and it might just get more stuff. Yeah, sometimes artists want to like put their own art styles in and it doesn't know them. And what we usually say is like, if you like use image prompts, like you can sometimes get it to pick up style from your own images. But it really depends on the situation. So I can't necessarily exactly speak to it without, knowing more, but you can go to the prompt channel, the prompt chat, maybe get some advice.
Yeah, hashtag prompt chat sponsored by Clarinet. I'm sorry. Okay, next question. Will next version lose any features, or will every second version introduce a breaking change or deprecate old stuff? That was from Prima or Prima. I'm sorry for butchering your name.
There will always be new versions, and I don't know. I think in general, like every version is different, and like I think what we try to do is version is like, better for like 80% of people and situations, but then we can't necessarily make it 100%. So every time it like improves 80% of the situations, and then over time it stacks and it gets better and better and better. But some things there's always something that gets worse.
Okay. Crazy Perfume asking, do you see writing AI like ChatGPT will be evolving alongside art AI like Midjourney and maybe becoming equally popular?
I definitely think that like language models, like I definitely think that text AI stuff is going to be big. I don't think we've seen the first good product yet for that. It will be big in the future, and I don't necessarily know what it'll look like, but I am very optimistic, and I think we'll try to use some of that stuff too for Midjourney.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next one is about V5. It's from Frank Pluto, and he asking is there will be new most important features for V5 and when we will have it. ETA, maybe?
I mean, like the image prompts are going to get a lot more powerful. The text understanding and knowledge will be a lot better. Those are the two biggest things we know it'll do better. I don't know. In theory, we might also get higher resolution. It'll probably get higher resolution, probably better wide aspect ratios. But we don't fully know yet. It's still kind of training, and we're still experimenting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to see what you've got for us.
Well, I haven't even seen it yet, so it's definitely like we have things that we are building, but we don't know what. Like we're starting to make bricks, but we don't have a building,
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a floor plan. We have floor plans, like we're planning out what it should look like, but we haven't actually been in the building yet,
I literally made the other gas right now. If you know that GIF. Wow, I'm actually surprised because I thought that you will be somewhere in the head of every process or just like see what your teammates doing with V5.
We don't have it yet. Like we're just building it still. So like we know what we're trying to make it better at, but we also don't know exactly. It's hard to know exactly. But I think we know that the image prompts we're trying, like one of the image prompts and the text stuff should both get a lot better is definitely a thought. And we don't know, and we know and the resolution should definitely get higher. So I think those are three areas that we're kind of, better resolution, better language, and better like image understanding. But it will do more. There probably will be more than that, but it's hard to know what will hit when. Like some of it might actually come out in like a 4.5, and some of it might actually come out in a 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next question from Adam. And he is asking that he is noticing since there's stylized switch returned that with higher stylization, Midjourney will tend toward color schemes that work well with navy blue and will often produce Midjourney's navy blue backgrounds in a place of black. Does the team actively factor in the effect of fixed color backgrounds or ranking data maybe, and how this will be how this effect can be mitigated? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. You can always use image prompts or try to use words to say what you want or talk in prompt craft, but there are definitely like some biases to the colors right now and to the brightness, and we're not super happy about that, but we do want to improve it.
Because I remember that version 3 was tending to give more green or yellow tones, and before is more bluish. Was she upset?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could make it not do that, but it seems like right now there's still these biases.
Yeah. Okay, let's say she had her blue period. Yeah, like every artist
Yeah,
has
it's the
the
blue
thing.
period. I like that.
Okay, so next question is from Paul again, and she is asking how your day usually structured. Is there some kind of routine you follow, and does it help you to be effective and feel good in any way?
I don't really have a good routine right now. Yeah, I think one of the challenges is that like I used to have a big office with lots of people that I would see every day, and I had a roommate, and now I don't. We're remote, and I don't have a roommate, and so I just don't see people sometimes if I'm careful. So I do have a lot of friends that I meet with like after work, but San Francisco is a little weird during the week. Like people sometimes work all the time and don't take off. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I think in general I don't quite have a routine, and I'm trying to find a better routine now for Midjourney, but I don't think I've totally found it yet.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Uh, Probably will be a last question for now, and it will be from Robert Embryo that asking, V4 seems to miss the mark with certain ethic or cultural references, something V3 and V2 was very good at. Any idea why? For example, V3 and V2 understood what Iranian or Persian writing was, what it was art from that cultures, and even face look like. And now when prompting for this aesthetic, they were whitewashed or even exhibit more Indian aesthetic. Is that can be solved somehow, maybe?
I think there are certain types of styles right now that the system is not doing better, and we're building some tests for that so we can tune it. But when we build things, I think we just tried to make it as good at many things as we could, and we're kind of discovering things that it's not as good at still, and we're trying to improve them. So I don't think there's any specific reason, as like per se, like nothing's done on purpose. But with every version, we kind of find new things that it's not good at, and then we try to build tests for them, and then we run the tests and change things and try to find ways that make it better. So I think there's definitely like the types of styles that involve lots of detail, like certain arabesque styles that have like the little fractal-like details. Some of those things are not working as well right now, and we're looking at things like that.
I don't know. Okay. Well, that's all for me now. Glad to hear you, and bye.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, so I just had a question about image prompting. I do these like little sequences of 4 images that tell a little story.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's kind of like maybe, I don't know if this is an easy thing or hard thing, but kind of a nuisance is like if I generate a couple characters and I want to include them in that story in the same scene, I basically have to Photoshop 2 of the characters into one frame to get them both in the frame. Because if I do them as separate images, then it acts kind of like it's a multi-prompt, you know? So if there was like if I could just like, maybe this is not the answer, but like if I could just plus sign between my images and they merge them into like one image prompt together instead of making it like this multi-prompt thing, I feel like it would make it a lot easier for me to have characters interacting and interact with a different character, you know? Because right now with 4 images, it's like, it's not too much of a hassle, but if I'm trying to do a longer story, it gets really frustrating, like having to constantly like go, you know, try to get people to fit into a frame or whatever. If I could just put each of those prompts or each of those images in and be like, cool, now it put all those characters in that scene or whatever. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure how to do that, but I think that's a good question. I have to think about that.
Like I feel like my not knowing the system mind thinks you could almost just have it so if you put the plus, it like combines the 2 images together into one image. I guess that could create all kinds of problems with like stretched images or having a line in the middle of the frame or something. But even it, you know, maybe that wouldn't be a problem if they're all on black backgrounds or something like that. But that's just something that I'm constantly running into. And it's like, as far as you've mentioned wanting to help our storytelling, and I was like, that would really help.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to the team about that. I'm not entirely sure if there's a way to do that or not.
Oh, okay.
I have to. There's some the technical side of that is kind of nuanced in a way that I actually don't know how to respond to.
Oh, okay.
But it's a good question.
Also, I'm just how close are you feeling on the GIFs thing? I'm just so excited for the idea of having my little 4 images all be like having little motion in them, you know?
Yeah, probably like 6 or 8 months.
Oh, okay. Not a next update.
No, not at all.
Okay. Cool. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Palgrave, you're up. If you're trying to talk, we cannot hear you.
Hi. Hello. Hi there. Thanks for taking the call. I had a real quick question. Hopefully, I really enjoy the product. I'm sure you get a lot of favorable feedback. One thing that I've had a little bit of trouble with is specifying images using a hexadecimal ID. So, for example, if I want something that's fire engine red, I would have to use those words. But if I don't want a fire engine, I would much rather use the hexadecimal ID to call out that tone. Is it all possible to include that as a legitimate prompt?
So when you imagine specifying color for an image, do you imagine saying like, I want the ball to be this color? Or are you imagining that you want the image broadly to have this as a dominant color? Like, what are you imagining? How are you imagining?
The latter. Yeah, more the latter. So I would have an elaborate prompt, and at the end of it, I might say a color like purple, and then copy that exact same prompt and have the last word be blue, and then the overall tone, image tone, would be purple or blue, which is great. But if I wanted to refine it a little bit more,
yeah. This is something we would like to do. It's something we would like to do. I think we're still trying to figure out the right way to do it. But we want to add from a intentionality standpoint, we want to create a lot more color control.
okay.
Yeah, I think because we think that there's a lot of really incredible things that you can do with unusual use of color, and like being able to explore color space even on common things is like, I think will be a really strong power of these tools.
Well, yeah, I think people can go to a Google search and learn what hexadecimal IDs are. So I don't know that there's already a language for it, but I don't know if it could be incorporated as a viable prompt.
I think there's a way to do it. I just think about like it. We haven't tried it yet. There are a few things that might just work, but also might not work. So we haven't tried like, and there's a lot of ways to do it, and we haven't gotten to spend enough time yet trying them.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's it. I really appreciate the time. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. How many hexadecimal colors are there? Is that 16-bit? Yeah, I mean, I guess the hexadecimal is not really about colors. It's just a number system. And so it's hexadecimal is a bigger space than the color space. So there's 16 million hexadecimal codes. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, we're definitely going to do some cool color stuff. Is there any others, Ancient, or is this it for the day?
I'm going to try bringing Palgrave back up.
All right.
I apologize for that. You know, I use Discord to just keep an eye on what's been going on with the AI stuff. I don't really get up here and talk much. It's not really my thing, but, I got the opportunity. I might try. If there's any background noise, we run a business out of our house. It's a bakery good stuff. That'll make sense later on. I did have a question, personal question for David. Did mention earlier on about, you said something like you didn't have time to follow art. What about philosophy?
I don't know. I mean, I do follow art. I mean, I'm a designer. I certainly look at lots of pictures.
I mean, I may have heard it wrong or something. I just heard it halfway. I was just joining.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not like part of the sort of like fine arts worlds for sure. But I am a designer, and I definitely am like as aware of visual stuff as like most good designers would be. But philosophy, I would say I'm very good. I would say I'm very very good at like ancient Chinese philosophy for a Westerner. I would say that there are other areas of Western philosophy that I know a little bit of. I would say I'm pretty well up to date with like, any philosophy that touches kind of like science fiction literature or like the modern tech world broadly. But I think that if there's any like, probably like, if the things that I read the most, if it's about reading, I probably like I read ancient Chinese literature, I read science fiction, and I talk to all of like a large kind of spectrum of people in the tech space. Yeah, those are probably most of my influences. Like I have a lot of musician friends, like, so I guess I'm a little bit a part of the music community, but not to the extent that I have read like 1,000 sci-fi books or, huge spectrum of ancient Chinese literature or something like that.
No, I totally get you. I'm exactly the same way. Earlier on, Joshua was talking about depression, how it helped him, and when I first started with Midjourney, it did the same thing, and I use it to relax and take it easy and unwind after day, and I'm actually still productive and making art for my business and doing other things. I really don't have any questions, but I do have a couple of use cases I'd like to share if you're open to it.
Sure.
All right. Well, on the case of mental health. There's actually I'm in IT, and that's my trade for 25 years. My education's unorthodox, and I'm trying to get out of the corporate world and get into nonprofits. So I started up a nonprofit, and I am was talking to Doug from a local school that they teach those who don't have access, high tech, like robots, Python with video games, that kind of stuff. They wouldn't normally have access to. And I thought, you know what, why don't I just show them a little thing about artificial intelligence? We got to talking. He wants me to teach classes, just share my experience and whatnot like that. One of the things we had discussed about was actually, I had said, hey, I bet you anything, you introduce something like Midjourney into like elder care or something like that. That's going to perk them up, because all they're doing is laying around watching TV and waiting to die. And sure enough, he had the same train of thought after I'd shown him the little thing. And they actually introduced it, and right away they actually did see improvement in their cognitive skills. Everything, like they're sharing, they're interacting, they're happy, it's night and day that they're saying. So there is definitely a lot gonna go on in that field, I think. Let's see what else here. I'm sorry, I got my list. It's all impromptu. I didn't really think I was gonna get up and talk. I normally don't do this stuff.
It's okay.
All right. There's a lot of talk about fear. I monitor like the Discord. I monitor Facebook. I do a lot of, just monitoring. I like to lurk in the background to see what's what, to see where things, what they do. I've been just keeping a lot of the chatter of, hey, is this art? And you know what? That's kind of a boring topic as far as philosophy is concerned. Philosophy is big with me. I get concepts. I do concepts. I don't do other things. Concepts are my thing. So what I'm getting at is, a lot of people are worried about, this or that or the other. I think what they're really worried about is, they're worried about their livelihoods. This is taken away from how they're providing for their loved ones. My next case example is just something that randomly happened a couple of days ago, over the course of the week, I should say. Actually, I just finished up a couple of days ago. I'm on Facebook and I use cannabis, and I'm on one of the cannabis groups in my state that's legal. One of the group admins was saying, "Hey, does anybody know how to do photo editing or video editing?" And I'm like, "Hey, you know what? I've used DaVinci Resolve to cut up a couple YouTube videos before. You know what? I could use some, more connections. I need to make some friends." And I volunteered, and it turns out this guy's got a marketing company, owns 27 acres land, blah, 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 blah. I never really cared about the material things. But, he's doing this thing for this thing called Lobby Day. I don't really know. I don't really get into politics. I don't care for it. Basically, he asked me to, he planted a seed. He's like, "Hey, it's some doors going through. Let's get this." And I was like, "Okay, give me a couple of days to think about it." And I did, and what I ended up doing was, it took a couple days to come up with the concept. It took me 20 minutes to use Midjourney to generate the images and convey that concept. When I gave it to him the next day, he said I was a visionary. I've never done a storyboard in my life. And this guy's blown away by me, inviting me out to his, cabin and stuff like that. I don't know what to do with that. But that's some powerful stuff right there. I don't think it's really a matter of art. I'm losing my business. I'm not going to be able to provide. I need to take care of my loved ones. I think artists out of everybody are in the best position of, everybody is going to be using this. And everybody that I know that I'm trying to introduce it to is like, "Hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Whose style is this?" I don't know art. I used to draw as a kid because I couldn't afford an NES. Paper was plentiful, and then, I was drawing and I thought I was pretty good. And then I met my brother-in-law and his friend, who are exceptionally good artists at their age. We were teenagers, and I got embarrassed and I gave up. I stopped with art, I never got art until now. I never really understood the passion that it drives people to. And so it's a whole new universe out there. And if I could feel it, and I'm a very, very logical person. I mean, like 1 + 1 is 2, A to Z, that kind of stuff. I like to know how things work. I dabble. That's what I do. I stick my toe in, a subject till I learn how it works. Then I'll move on to the next one. And what I'm saying is all these opportunities, it's not about art. It's about healthcare. It's about, finances. A couple weeks ago, I had lost my job, and I didn't know how I was going to pay bills or take care of my family. I've got 4 people to think about. And, I invested all my money and went into debt and, tried to get this thing with my sister, our business that you probably hear in the background. That's us making meringues and macarons, and we're selling them at urban markets. What I did was, sometimes when we make these, they're still good. They're in a wrapper or something like that, but they crack or they get squished when we got them in packaging during transport. And some people just don't like it because it looks ugly. So I was like, well, what if we use a friend of our family said, "Hey, why don't you think of, the Island of Misfit Toys, except for sweets?" And so that's what we did we came up with these little characters of, meringues and macaron sweets. And, I'm using that as a driver to, drive sales. I'm marketing it to kids, but, when they get the little, we're going to make little stickers out of these things, thanks to Midjourney, that's right there, just cutting out and print them off and hand them out. And then the URL points back to our website and says, "Hey, thank you. This is a special thank you for you." And we're going to tell them about the story about how, the misfits, that's what we call them. The misfits, they're broken and they're scared that nobody wants to eat them because they're broken. And, our baker is going to say, "Hey, no, you're just as good as every other treat." And then whenever someone gets a misfit, we're going to give them a sticker. It's a sales driver. It's a marketing tool. This isn't just about art. Let's see. What else do I got? I think I'm good.
I'm happy it's helping you. That's great.
I'm just trying to share what I know with everybody here, and trying to change a different perspective, because the whole "is it art" dialogue is dumb. So Anyways, I've been waiting a really, really long time, and I gotta go pee, and so I'm gonna say goodbye. Okay?
No worries. Thank you. Thank you for telling the story.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody from Midjourney. Actually, I think I speak for a lot of people in this room. They would like to thank you. All right, you have a good one.
All right. Well, I think that's the last thing of the day. Thank you for coming to the Midjourney Office Hours. We do these every week, Wednesday at noon Pacific time. Thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for like all the stories and thoughts and ideas, and I'm excited to see where things go. And there's going to be a lot more stuff coming, and I'm going to I'll probably announce there'll be the first San Francisco small community meetup this week. We'll probably do the Tokyo one near the end of the month, and then hopefully that'll be the beginning of a big traveling fair of Midjourney meetups for everybody. And yeah, thanks for coming, and I hope everybody has a nice day. For the meetups, just watch the announcement channel. I'll probably do an add everybody in a little bit. Oh, everyone's asking it again. I'll repeat it again. We'll probably do a Midjourney meetup in San Francisco Sunday, and then we'll probably do a Tokyo one near the end of December, and then we'll hopefully keep doing more after that. So I'll try to send some little announcements soon, and we'll try to have some longer head notice for future ones. All right. Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you.